Fire department is chosen to decide.
Like freezing.
Yes, last time.
Yeah.
It's like, hey,
You're mine.
Yeah. And they said, we should check with the board.
You're mine.
All right. I'll be tall. I don't think they would.
Fire measure for one. Pledge. But they get to the flag. Moment of silence and then we cease the fire district.
Are you there?
I am here.
Harry Hannigan's on.
You don't need to see my face, do you? Good.
Oh,
Here,
Right, here.
here.
Nick.
Here.
Commissioner Scifo is joining us via Zoom. Right, public session for agenda made publicly. Chief Hannigan.
Nice to see you. Gentlemen, you spent a lot of money on this building. You put a sign out there, 42 to swim up. Nobody can see it. You go down the road, you can't see it. You come up the road, you can't see it. We like that quiet. So I would suggest that you consider moving the other side of the building where at least they can see it going up the street. Maybe that can. Whoever decided to put it there, didn't do much research.
Thank you for your input. Any other commissioners have any background information on that? So we're not obligated to respond now. I think it's valid concern. Company choice.
Go from one back and forth on that several times, and it was clearly company choice.
The only, okay, I don't disagree that that's probably what it was. It's bad spot. It is whatever, most of the creates bad spots. We've at least entertained the motion or the thought process of having somebody research what it costs to be.
Yeah, the other thing I did notice on my way in here is I did make it a point to look over my shoulder at the building. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't even see the sign. Unless I missed, does it say North Greenbush Fire District anywhere other than the 42? In Skill Fire Department?
There's NGFT on the post. WFT sent GFT one on the door.
Where is it?
Downstairs. You walk outside the rescue on the lighters. It says WFT and GFT one on it.
Right, plus
If we are going to research it, moving it for an additional sign, which may not be a bad idea, but it's a cost. I'd also like to look at actual wording, North Greenbush Fire District. When we put the freestyle station up, originally, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we just had the 9, and maybe in GFT. And like, can we get our name? I kind of think like that too. Is that something we could just look at?
What are you looking weird with what?
We just have it spelled out.
Well, no, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, whatever, I mean, something like that. I don't.
I mean, I don't, it depends on.
I think that's what it was intended to do, so that was where.
Bob and Joey, is there a, if we
Well,
don't
no.
want any input to,
When-
would it be a?
When we did that sign, where it is now, originally we were supposed to have a sign down on the planter, like that, lit there. And there was a bunch of people here in the fire station itself. After the trees got removed and all the debris from that side of the building, they thought that would be a great place for a sign matching you guys over there and eliminate the one on the bottom. So that came from wasn't me, it wasn't Bobby, it wasn't the building committee, it was the body.
You know what? Like,
I remember your phone calls, I remember your phone calls.
I just think it was worth an explanation, because Jerry was in Florida, all, and he wasn't there for those meetings. And if he had asked me earlier, I would have explained that to him, because we talked all the time about. I'm not saying,
All you're gonna do is come down this hill, you know.
I understand that.
What the street they don't see it. Why spend all the money you haven't said it there? If the body made that decision, all well and good, but it's a mistake.
is it the pleasure of the board, we need an official vote, if you want to investigate either an additional sign and or do you want to stay where they're at?
Investigate. I mean, is that something you people in the research, Joey or Bobby? Or-
Yeah, we would, I mean,
We
we're,
can do it together,
I'm
but
procurement, he's the chair of the building committee, that's what we do, okay? You tell us
I
what to
don't, I
do.
don't see we need a second time. Like Mr. Henry said, it's hard to see, so if you have two, you just.
Yeah.
I don't know what's the reason I just say and
It doesn't
or.
matter.
The reason I say and or because of, you know.
Right.
The head anchor comes back and says, oh, look at the way the holes are in that building, you don't wanna go taking that down, moving, just see what our options are.
Yeah,
You can do that.
yeah, I agree with that.
and before we would go ahead and research that, I would want a concrete place where it was going to be put. So when we do go get prices from electricians, whoever, they can give us a price on footage of material, whatever. So we can't say, well, we're gonna put it here and put it over there. Have a definite area where it's gonna be, but
We would have an approximate area, but we would have to work with AJ Signs because there's warranty on that sign, so we have to work with AJ Signs.
Right.
And even though things were a little bumpy with them, we maintained a good relationship right up to the end with AJ Signs. And then, of course, from that point, it would be electrical contractor. So it would be AJ Signs and an electrical contractor.
I would get a cost.
Yep. We'll, Joe
Moving
and I
it.
will work on it.
Or just.
Yep.
Sometimes that.
And then additional letter, and of course, I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah.
about, so we can work that out.
The, one lettering thing that we wound up doing it in, application. Street number.
Yep.
I don't recall seeing the street number.
No.
And even though we never use it as an example to the community, when we talk to the community about having the street number visible from their houses, we should have our street number visible from our fire houses.
We'll weave that into it.
Practice what we preach.
So,
All right. Thank you, Jim. Any other public session items, things that are on the agenda? All right, it's kind of a good segue into the fire district building, report. On that topic, anything other than we just discussed?
that just blew my report up, so. I was gonna say we were down to all the little nitty gritty stuff, everything's getting finalized. We have, just the AV stuff that's gotta happen in this room here. And as far as, I think, that's about it, Bob, right? This is the last hanging piece of fruit.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of very minor
Then
things.
We're
The
there.
proposals coming this month, right?
Yeah, they wanted to wait until they procured all of the equipment before they started the job. They figured by the middle of the month it'll be started.
Great. All right. BSD President's Report.
He is not here, but he sent it in and, facility use requests are up there.
All right, so Jeff's report, which all the commissioners have this, I'll summarize here. One firefighter resignation this month, Greg Campbell resigned due to moving out of the area in Western New York, he left with good standing. 3 applications pending, which I have those here, at least 2 of which will be presented at the September meeting. The attached fundraising letter, which I'll talk about in a moment. 1 facility use request. Which is,
There's 2, actually. There was an add-on. There's 2 there, Dan.
these are all already.
Yes.
Priestville. For Trout 5-year-old birthday party, October 4th. And Art Stewart for the Red Knights firefighter motorcycle club. September 20th. DFD awarded 2 academic scholarships to 2 children of active firefighters. The 2025 Kenneth J. Clark and H. Gary Garrett educational scholarship was awarded to Mackenzie Clute, daughter of past Chief Shane Clute, and Jonathan McCray, son of past Chief Brian McCray, which received $1,000 money towards college tuition. And DFD is aware of the New York State recruitment grant. I think Dan Wilson sent that. Did you send that to us?
I think the county sent it out to everybody.
But then one of
I
the Wilsons
through.
forwarded to the, Chris did, okay. And then I shared it with Jeff. And I had a chance to speak with Emily Pirro, who happens to be here this evening, and she's got a copy of it. So there is that New York State recruitment grant, which the board could apply for on behalf of WFD and DFD. We can talk about that more on the recruitment committee. All right. When we take action on these building use requests for DFD, we can let's go over why this goes to. I know we didn't get to the report yet, but this is for their old timer dinner on October 11th and September 20th for the steak roast for Anthony Miranda. Any questions on any of these building use requests? Entertain a motion to approve. Second by Brian. All's in favor? Aye. Motion carries. We're all approved. The fundraising letter, which I happen to be the chairman of the fundraising committee at DFD. We use the same company, Municipal Marketing Services, that Wine and Skill uses in the PBA. The fire company letter is posted in Dropbox. Any questions on this? And after this is approved, we'll give final approval to Municipal Marketing Services to get going with it. Our role is typically to send these out the end of October. Questions on that? Entertain a motion to approve. Made by Brian, second by Bob. Ron. I want to say anything, but it's probably not very. All right. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. New member we can go over later. Dan, I know you're not-
Mr. Chairman, can I interrupt for a sec?
Sure. Is that Nick?
Terry,
Terry.
Yeah, that last paragraph on there, it says your tax deductible donation, and while it may be, we try to shy away from language like that, that your donation may be tax deductible, because depending, and again, the tax laws are all in flux and change anyway, but I don't think you want to be telling people it is tax deductible. I think you want to be telling them it may be, and that they should, if you want anything further,
Good move.
talk to your tax
I'll talk to
professional.
Jeff, and I suggest either we just take out the word tax deductible. Maybe, I think maybe almost raises red flags unnecessarily, so it might be best just to.
Well, you're a 501c3, so I mean, for all intents and purposes, it is, but you're really giving tax advice there, and you probably shouldn't.
All
right. Your contribution may be tax deductible. Please contact. I mean, it's usually the better way to go about that.
And maybe we could even mention that we're a 501c3.
Yeah.
Organization in that last paragraph. All right, thank you.
Not a problem.
All right, so we'll make that change. Dan, I know you're not the president, but anything on Jeff's report? No, I mean from DeFrisco.
The other day.
Okay. All right, WFD president's report.
Good evening. We also have the 2 building use requests, which were just approved, so thank you for that. You should have a membership application for Daniel Ryder.
Yep.
Voted in for our August meeting. A couple other FYIs, 2026 our annual installation and inspection banquet is going to be scheduled for February 7th at the American Legion. So we did change the venue for that. Some other company business, we have a new disciplinary bylaw that was submitted in amendment to our membership that'll be either passed or denied next month. Our asset inventory has been complete. Jay's been working with the trustees on that. So once completed, once fire district and once fire department, will submit everything to you guys. We're gonna be participating with the fire safety education at the Scottsdale Fair with the Bureau of Public Safety. And our recruitment efforts at the weekly Wednesday night food truck event has been pretty good for community outreach, and also where we, I believe, gained another application or two that will be the department voting on for next month. So we're gonna continue to rock with those until they're done for the summer. The other two items on there, I believe, were answered via email, and once again, thank you to Joey Casino, Bobby Durivage, and the rest of the commissioners for continuing to work with us as we finish up the building. Anything for me?
Great, thank you very much. Commissioner, anything else?
I just got a question, a comment about the NFK 1325 sprinkler heads. In theory, the company, when they put them in, should have left, I think it's minimum 6 heads with the tool, so.
Yeah, Bob answered Jay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I sent it back to them, they did.
And for. Right, and I saw it there and it's.
I
And he
responded.
also answered the audio video upgrades question that Jay as well, so thank you for that.
I'll be quiet.
Minutes from the last meeting. I was at a conference in Seattle for work, so I was not here. So. Stay, but any comments, corrections, deletions, otherwise entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
Motion made by Brian.
Right.
Right, second. All those in favor? Show that I abstained. Treasurer's report, Sean.
Here are the bank statements and bank reconciliation for the 3 accounts we review and sign off on. All right, the money market account was reconciled down to $1,117,599. We earned interest of, oh my gosh, my glasses. God, holy crap.
He's got more money than
Uh,
shit. Can't you do better?
$1,924 worth of interest for the month. Year to date, $12,663. I'm increasing the font size on this. WFP capital projects, we have a reconciled balance of $394,143. But just so you know, the new balance in that account is $283,329. I hadn't, the accumulated expenditures we made so far this year, I hadn't moved the money over, so I did move that money over, so that's the new balance. And then for the general fund, $410,547 for our general fund balance. Well, as you'll see if you're going through the document there, attached are the bank reconciliations, copies of the bank statements, copies of all the cash checks, copies of all the checks that were cut based upon our checkbook registered in QuickBooks, and copy of our actual expenditures year to date to our budget year to date. Oh, I'm sorry. Also, we did get the final audit report from Brian CPA firm, and the audit came in just like we expected, or I expected. We got a positive review on the audit. It was submitted to the state controller's office. I did receive an email from the state controller's office acknowledging receipt of that audit on file.
The only recommendation I saw on the audit, Sean, was the physical inventory.
Yeah, and I was gonna say thank you to Bob and Jay for working on doing that inventory. That'll help us to clean up some of that stuff is pretty old on our books that we have for urgent. So, thank you.
All right. Questions for Sean? Resolution to accept the treasurer's report. I'll second it. Roll call.
Rich?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Robert? Nick?
Aye.
All right. Approval of the current month's invoices. I reviewed them all this afternoon. I didn't have any specific questions or concerns. Commissioners have anything on? Entertain a resolution to approve. Resolution by Ryan, need a second. All right, Rich, roll call.
Rich?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Rob? Nick?
Aye.
All right, resolution carries. Correspondence received.
Yep.
You, Mike?
Yeah, so we got the M&T Bank, month-end collateral statement. New York State Associate of Fire Chiefs, training seminar information. It's provided. We received an email from Ed Garin, Windsor County Recruitment Grant Program was the topic. And we also have a copy of that grant program request form. And Garrison is celebrating 50 years, so they sent an announcement. They're going to have some sort of shindig down at Garrison.
Great. On that recruitment grant. Bobby, real quick, please, you guys got a copy of that, right? The recruitment grant. Items. Can we get, no, Chris sent it out. Can you send out that?
Yeah, we'll make sure.
President.
We're running low on time. I mean, and the question is, you know, you want to talk about it now or you want?
No, I just want to make sure they get a copy.
So much great.
Can we just send the president a copy, then we'll get to Rich's report.
Yep.
All right. Anything else as far as correspondence received? Yeah. All right. No correspondence sent. This is not on the agenda. Just gave me this afternoon. He had a Teams meeting with 4 representatives from the New York State Department of Health regarding the consolidation of our BSFLR agency codes into one number for the district. We approved this 3 years ago, but Bob's going to kind of summarize the meeting today, and then we're going to refresh our resolution. Bob?
Yes, thanks, Dan. Again, we had the meeting with Dan Clayton, Gene Myers, David Bowers, and Alex Cesar, all from the Department of Health, who are responsible for the licensure or other parts of our EMS numbers for Winesville and DeFreeseville. It was a very positive meeting because we still need to kind of tie a couple loose ends up in filing our individual agency numbers for DFD and WFD. They're going to work with us to start the process right now with consolidating into one number. And there were a couple things that were not in the original resolution that should be in this resolution, aside from the district consolidating this, that the district would also clearly state that they're authorizing DFD and WFD to respond to EMS calls within the fire district under the new EMS agency number. Terry and I have spoke about this. This is really a good step. It's going to help vouchering down the road. It's going to make everything a lot easier for whoever's doing our CME, CIC, instructional component. There's, you know, a lot of forms and steps and approval processes on the health end, but all the board needs to do is just, you know, kind of refresh this resolution. And then we'll go on a little parade of forms.
All right, I have the resolution here. Any questions first for Bob on that? I'll read the resolution. The Board of Fire Commissioners of the North Greenbush Fire District Number 1 resolves to create a single EMS agency number for the fire district by consolidating the existing Whitingskill Fire Department and DeFreeseville Fire Department EMS agency numbers. Both the Whitingskill Fire Department and DeFreeseville Fire Department will be authorized to respond to EMS calls anywhere within the fire district under the new Fire District EMS agency number. The fire district will take all necessary steps and complete all required paperwork with the New York State Department of Health to finalize this change. Entertain a resolution to approve that. Made by Rich. Need a second by Hippie. Roll call.
Robert,
Yes.
Brian,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Nick.
Aye.
Resolution carries. No other old business. New business. American Sun Control estimate, who wants to elaborate on that?
Basically, long story short, with the display case, I'll be going to the DeFreeseville side there, exposing the sun, you know, did certain parts of the station protect, you know, the building from, you know, the sun penetration, so to speak, in there, fading materials, there's historic stuff there. Basically, just looking to tint up the front there, so sun doesn't go in there. Right, like we've done the other full stations to check
On
on
the exterior doors or the actual?
No,
cases? That's what I meant.
Yeah, that doors, but there's a sample of tinting hanging up on the one.
But maybe on the door, not on the display
Right, keep
case.
it from.
No, it will be on the display case.
Oh, that's right, that's right, samples.
Dimitri from American Sun Control came over, he looked at the doors, and because of the doors, they already have glazing in it. And he said, no matter if they put it in the front or the back, okay, it's gonna sustain damage over time because of the doors. And he said, you're gonna put this on these 3 pieces of glass on each side to the display cases. He goes, you will never have to touch that again. If it gets put on the doors, you will be. So, and it'll be actually more effective for the display cases.
Great.
It's similar to what we did on the back of the stadium.
Any questions? Thanks for the clarification. Entertain a resolution to approve that.
I'll make it.
Brian? Hippie, second. Roll call. That is $1,360. Go ahead.
Rich.
Aye.
Dan.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Rob.
Aye.
Nick.
Aye.
Great. Moving the date of the October Board of Fire Commissioners meeting, falls on Columbus Day. We just removed this. Sean, that's also around the time where I think of
Yeah.
budget hearings and stuff, that you can kind of consolidate things.
The 14th area of October? Budget hearing, is that right?
Jerry?
Yep, I'm here. I just got to unmute. Okay.
Oh, yep.
I'm scrambling for my calendar here, folks. Hold on.
Does that sound right?
Yeah, 14th sounds about right. Third Tuesday.
Yeah,
So you're moving your meeting to that night?
Does that work?
that works for me. Yeah.
Second Tuesday? That's the second Tuesday.
Second
Yeah.
Tuesday, okay.
Today. After.
Okay, here's the $1 million question. The budget hearing has to be during the 3rd week of October. Is the second Tuesday during the 3rd week? You can make that argument because it starts on Wednesday. So if you wanted to do it that night, I think you can get away with it. There's never been any clarity as to what the 3rd week really is.
It is technically, there's 4 days in that first week that.
Yeah.
You can agree the days for that first.
Yeah, well, you've got some leverage here. So if you wanted to do everything on the 14th, you could.
I think that, does that work for everybody?
I'll make that motion.
Good with you, Nick?
Good with me.
All right, Rich is gonna make a motion and move the October meeting to October 14th.
I'll second it.
All right, Nick will second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Would it be, start at 6:30 so we can, because I got,
Yeah.
so we'll start at
Yeah, so
6:30.
we'll start at 6:30 with the public hearing first and the meeting immediately following.
Okay.
So not necessarily 7 o'clock, it could be early.
Yeah.
All right. Motion carries. DFD Chiefs report.
So 96 came back from its rehab, last Thursday, well, thanks. Heading that project up. A handful of appointments items that need to be completed, which is part of the PM for the truck, not the rehab. Overall, we're very happy with how the truck turned out and, where it's good to deal with. So we're happy the truck back. When 96 is completed with its PM punch list, we're gonna send Rescue 9 and 97 out. Get a handful of things completed, big ones for 97, the rear hose bit cover and the electric MIV thing installed on the officer side. We're also gonna get a quote and for Rescue 9 to get tool mounting inside the officer's or driver's department to clean that a little bit. We had 2 firefighters graduate fire for 1 last week. They're going on to complete survival this month and either end of this month or September, we'll have 2 more interior firefighters in pre-zone. General Kids Day back in July was a great success. They weren't lying, we probably saw 700 kids that day. So it was very busy and we completed lots of our firefighters. Good. And General happy to have us with a big day fun. Working with Chief Wilson, Wineskill to get a little more consistency with their data entry on our run reports, what are different codes and documenting times and numbers. That's been good, and we're getting our aides on board, so we're just making their lives a little easier. So Chief Steer sent an email to the town building and water department about some hydrants in town we've been having issues with during drill last week. We ran into a couple that were leaking, parts open, parts to use. This in conjunction with the dry hydrants in town, and also going to work with them to get fixed. But email sent out to them with video proof of leaking stems being partly open. We're going to try to work with the town more to identify our problem hydrants and hopefully get them repaired.
Dan, if you're gonna be having a conversation with the town about water and hydrants, could you, and I don't really know that there's a fix to this, but it's definitely a concern. I hear about it almost every time when there's a drill where there's pumping of water. The entire Swiss Acres development loses all water. And it just raises concern, but they don't know the reason why. It's a water leak, is there? But I think it's worth, if the town doesn't know about it, they can't ever investigate doing anything about it, so could you bring that up with them? And they just reach out to me, because I think I might know, and then,
Yeah, I mean, our last little tech show we had down the tech park, we were flowing that much water well under that.
And I didn't get any reports of the law. I was away, but I didn't get any reports of lost water, but whatever drill you had shortly before that, it went completely.
Yeah, even though we're not using a ton of water, we reports that, we're getting a little bit of.
I think part of the issue is that both the residents and the town seem happy with pressure. And the application that the residents need is pressure. You take your shower in the morning, you're using, 10 gallons a minute at best, but you're getting good pressure. When you're washing the dishes, you're using 3 gallons a minute, but you're getting good pressure. When we're flowing water for fire or for drill, we're flowing in the hundreds or thousands of gallons a minute. So there's, it's a matter of, that's when it drops off. So the hydrant systems can sustain a high pressure, it seems, but there are a lot of areas in the hydrant system water system that can't sustain a high flow rate. So.
Well, up there, they don't talk about pressure anyway, and then when they.
Well,
But I mean,
when the flow rate drops off, then the pressure drops. When there's not enough fluid to flow pipes, the pressure drops.
I think it should just be brought up, you know,
The other
so
side
it
is
just creates a lot of panic, different, and they don't even know it's a fire department, you know, and obviously you can't stop drilling, I mean, that's, you need to crack, so that's not the implication, but if you could just mention that.
Yeah, we're trying to do a better job this year about, notifying them of issues. I mean, it doesn't do any good if we run into a problem with them talking about it. So, really, we'll keep, reporting trends and wait to hear back from them. Going to Ken, ability training tomorrow at the tower, so, and it's Durivage. The new mobile CAD serves for iPads on trucks and on radio rooms. And we'll roll out the membership after we learn it. And hopefully we're sending one MT or one person MT class starting next month, Dr. Ramos. Rio's doing a Saturday classes at RPI, so it's every Saturday for I think 3 months, all day. So kind of a little bit of expedited version instead of 2 or 3 nights a week, doing one weekend. So I got him to the class hopefully, and by the end of the year, I'm going to be. And last thing on the list, we have to send a portable radio out for repair on Preston 9. Has a selector knob was malfunctioning. It was changing channel on the radio. We brought it to Aircom and Pittsfield's communications. They both said they have to send it out to the manufacturer in Florida. That's going to cost $600 to fix a knob on the portable radio. So, just to keep you guys informed, the price of this stuff is going up. And this is the price for a portable radio. Well, it was $1,000. Yeah, it's almost $4,600 for a radio now.
So,
4,600
for radio.
for one port radio.
And that's, I think that's the base model. One, if you fancy on it, you're talking about. That's not quite 600. So just for planning purposes, when the radios are going on, what are different radios? And,
17, I think we were live, 16, 17.
so we're on standard radio, but only anticipating that we're going to start replacing pieces in the radio more frequently. And they're getting released. So, just like you guys, get the game. There's no plan, we don't talk to recently, that's fine this year at least, but something to keep mind.
Model radio that we have too, just FYI, not to cut you off, Dan, but they're gonna, once they're out of the APX 4000. So I'm not against problem with the parts expensive.
Yeah, I think it's, Mark Fossey was saying that these radios, we'll part them out, compare them up to, I think it's like 3 or 4 years, and then after that, it's a, like a support with the services anymore. So, give a couple years left.
Next up, we'll have something happier about. Like,
Dan, I have a follow-up for the chiefs on that. There is a company, they're out of Boston Spa, and I did call them today, who is working on Motorola portables and radios for small things like this. So I'm gonna try and develop a relationship with them, so maybe when the little knob breaks, we can send it over to this person in Boston Spa rather than having to send it back. So I'll report back to the chiefs and the board when I find out.
All right. Thanks, Dan. When we take a look at his purchases, they're all listed here. Not really want to read them all again, but any questions on these? Nope. Nick, any questions on the DFD purchases?
Nope.
Okay, entertain a resolution to approve these storage adapters, new gas meter, EMT, course, both are prevention materials and an AED battery. You want us to pre-approve the expense for the radio repair?
We normally maintenance, we send that out. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yep.
Somebody want to make that
So
resolution?
resolved.
Rich, second. Brian, roll call.
Rich, Dan,
Aye.
Ryan, Rob,
Aye.
Nick.
Aye.
Resolution carries. WFT.
Evening, welcome back. My run report was submitted, the fuel logs were submitted. Submitted their fire prevention supply order this year. We're going to be joining Dan and Bob over CAD training tomorrow night. 3 chiefs are going to go over for that. So here. Great Ghost went out to the Postco Auto Show this past week. I'm not sure how they made out, but wait for them. With help of Chief Sheen, he gave me the DFD probationary guidebook that they use for their trainers, the new probation numbers. So the last month or two, I've revamped it to kind of get the blindness switched into it. Looking at after the officers, we're hoping to have a plan by the end of the month and start working on that. Starting next month, we have 5, 6 like that, new probationary members. So they're gonna be starting like their defaults. We kind of want to give them a little heads up, a little added training yourself so they're a little more comfortable when they go to class. For next month, hopefully, putting stuff that I emailed about truck 42 at Long Cool last couple weeks ago while on drill. Did some on-field maintenance work on it. They came back the next day, checked everything, and everything was working fine. The air conditioning 427's been fixed, there's no issues since then. Been in touch with the gentleman from McCarthy about tire replacement for truck 42 and rescue 42. I'm supposed to have the tires come in, I think tomorrow, we'll follow the email again tonight, so I get that scheduled, hopefully get it done this week. My week's kind of light, I have nothing else to do. Get them over, then once that gets back, Black Springs, about the front springs on truck 42, get that evaluated, and then next month, squad 42 and utility 42 will go off for their PM stuff. Get that squared away, and then whatever happens with rescue 42, all that PM work is done, so we're not shortchanging ourselves in apparatus for any time frame. I did find out about radio tuning. That was mentioned at the battalion meeting. So Bearcom charges $112 an hour to do this. And I was given information from a gentleman from Sarasota County. He does radio tuning, service work, whatever. I asked him about it, but his price is $50 a portable radio and $65 a mobile radio. Which is probably twice the amount of money that we're spending if we went to Bearcom at $112 an hour. So I'm gonna call Bearcom and get that scheduled, so if it's something you wanna do all in a week or figure it out from there, so. And that's it.
All right, and WFD purchase requests, fire prevention supplies. The duty crew. These 3 are the duty crew items. And the fire prevention supplies. Entertain a resolution. Rich, need a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Nick,
Aye.
Rich.
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Rob.
Aye.
Thank you, Chief. All approved. Standing committee reports, apparatus equipment, firematic operations, Rich and Deputy.
You want to go or you want to?
Well-
We had, we had a real good meeting the other night. And Bob, his knowledge on ladders versus mine, not so much knowledge on ladders, has kind of taken a lead on a lot of the more technical parts of it. And he's worked together a pretty good bullet list of what we need to send to the vendors for an RFP. So I think we're at that point that we're ready to go to the vendors and say, give us a formal request. This is a formal request for proposal. And kind of left a lot of things, I don't want to say up in the air, but we're not designing a fire truck. We're not designing it. we're not designing these area operations. We're not that design. Want to take it from there?
Yeah, I mean, most of you have the copy of this. If not, I can give it to you. It's looking for one. I did a couple here actually before the end of the meeting. But, the committee was torn between rear mount and mid mount. Both Rich and myself were in unison when we told the committee that financial considerations will be given to which one we get. And the feedback that we've gotten is that the rear mount is someplace in the neighborhood of 10 to 15, 20% cheaper than a mid mount. So you're looking at $200 to $350,000 difference in the cost for the same truck. So we told them that that was going to be a criteria for us. There's probably 3 or 4 things that I have to tweak in this. Rich gave me some, the chief gave me some. Nothing outstanding. Just, I believe we have a meeting set for the 13th.
I believe it is, yeah. You double check it.
But, so that's just with the committee. And then after that, as long as everybody's okay with this, I will contact each one of the vendors again and bring them back in. To my knowledge, there's 5. Am I correct, Rich?
Vendors,
Yes.
we can send it out to more, but there's 5 that we know.
5 that we talked. Okay.
We know we'll be able to bid it.
Right.
Based on what they told us.
There is Pierce, E1, Ferrara, Rosenbauer, and KME. So if anybody has a suggestion over and above that, I'll definitely send it to them and see if there's any interest. But the biggest hangup between mid mount and rear mount is the height of the truck, the apparatus. And we believe that there's 2 people that can build a truck that will fit in this station with no issues. I don't know if there's any questions or anything.
Yeah, not a question, but I just sent this to Terry, okay, because, obviously from procurement and his end will give you all the guidance we can give you before.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I'm saying, before we even send it to them,
Okay.
just so that Terry can look at it, just to see some choke points or something to say, don't say this, say that, you know what I mean? He's
yeah, when
obviously,
you look at it, it's pretty much,
yeah,
yes, this is what we're looking for. When we
Yep.
talk with them, that could be the issue where we probably need.
it could be, but so just so that right out of the gate, if there's some things that we need to make sure we're careful about, we are.
Do you want, just so it's on the record and showing that you have the board's support on this, do you want us to pass a motion kind of approving what we proposed?
You want to argue it, Rich?
At what point at what point do we wait a month, come back and say, here's our formal RFP that we want to go with?
I think this is the general concept of the board. We could approve that if you get input.
Right, that'll be the only
I'm
thing.
just saying, we
I
give
don't think we should
input
wait a
from.
month.
Yeah, no,
But I do think there should be something on record that the board is.
we need to.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm proposing that
I
way.
mean,
That was my point.
yeah, my belief is it will probably take us 2 to 3 weeks to meet with all 5 vendors, depending on people's schedule. And then we have to decide how we want to approach that. Some of the vendors are gonna say, well, I can give you a price right now, and we have to decide from advice from Terry whether, okay, we want it or don't we, but I do believe, I guess the question would become, what's involved for us to go to bid with this?
What's the what to go to bid? I'm sorry.
Yes,
You say what's involved if we want to go to bid? What's the process?
You draw a bid spec and typically it comes about 1 of 2 ways. You have a generic spec that either your truck committee or someone drafts for you, or you have a specimen spec, and I'm talking about the technical side of the spec, that you've gotten from either a vendor or someone else. Someone else has gotten the truck you want. what we do is, I would go through that. Obviously, if you get a spec that someone else has used or a vendor spec, it'll say, the seats must be monogrammed with the XYZ company on it. And the warranty, there will be a limited warranty, whatever. There's all sorts of garbage in there that does not work to your benefit. So without altering the technical aspects of the spec, I would neuter it. There's also sometimes there's some things in there that talk about, and this is what we see all the time. If you're using a spec for, again, I'm not going to state any particular brand, but if you get a spec from a vendor, they're going to say it must have the the ABC computer multiplex, blah blah blah, no exceptions, or there'll be a list of no exceptions, and we take all of those out and you put or comparable, because you want the spec to apply to as many potential vendors as you can, because that's going to drive the price down. If it's so tightly worded that only one vendor can bid on it, they're basically driving the bus and telling you what you're going to get for how much. The other part of the spec would be the legal spec, or what I call the front end that I put on, that basically assures you the rights, assures you the rights that you should be entitled to as someone who's buying a $2.5 million piece of equipment. It also sets forth the terms. What a lot of vendors don't understand is when you put out a bid spec, and again, it's going out, the district is putting it out. When a vendor bids on that, they're actually coming to you and making you an offer. They're coming back and saying, we can build this truck or this truck with these variations for this amount of money. So even though you're pushing it out, it's them coming to you and making the offer. And if there's some conditions or some things they want changed, like for instance, if we say we want it in 24 months and they come back and say we can't do 24 months, we can do 36 months. Okay, if that's the board wants, and that's fine. You accept that change. But what the vendors and what the manufacturers typically fail to understand is that bid spec is the contract. They're coming to you and saying, we'll build this for you for this amount of money. And then what they try to do is bootstrap you with a 3 or 4 or 10-page contract after you award them the bid that tries to change the terms. And we don't allow that when we go out to bid. Conversely, there is the consortium purchasing that you basically order off of a Chinese menu with I'll take one of these, one of these, one of these. You don't go out to bid. You basically jump on a bid that a consortium has solicited from a manufacturer for literally every apparatus with every variant that it comes with. The advantage of that is those contracts are out there. You were basically at the mercy of that contract and the mercy of the vendor, but you don't pay any money. You don't get invested in it until the truck is ready to go. It was just a case that was decided in Albany Supreme Court where a vendor sent a fire district. You can almost see it from where you guys are. But if you're in DeFriesville, you can almost see it. That said, okay, we'll build you your truck, but it's going to cost another $283,000 from what we agreed to. And the district sued. So actually, I can use the name because they sued Seagraves. Seagraves claimed that they couldn't possibly build it for that amount of money. And the court issued a decision about 2 weeks ago. It said, too bad, Seagraves. You said you could build it for this. You're going to build it for this. That's, I think, maybe the second case that Seagraves had that they crashed and burned on when they tried to rewrite, a contract on that was actually a consortium bid, but they tried to renege on the contract. So basically the difference, is if you do a spec, you have to have somebody or someone or somehow get a technical spec that I would review and like I said, neuter from must be exclusive this or exclusive that. And then I would wed that to my front end legal part, the general conditions, and then you would let that out for bid. If you do a consortium, you're doing a little bit different approach, but your leverage is somewhat limited. They can always come back to you in 4 years and say, you know what, we don't have a truck to sell you. Sorry.
Are you aware of or have you dealt with a clause in one of the major vendors, beginning with a P, that they put a contract clause in that says they follow some kind of
Let me cut to the chase. The producer price index, if it goes up by more than 5%, you will be responsible for the excess over that. Yeah, I've seen that. I tell them it's nonsense. If I go out to bid, I tell them it's nonsense because they can't change the bid documents with a subsequent contract. That's what our bid spec says. So I've had that discussion with them. I've told them that. With the consortium bids or with the consortium purchases, that's the contract that they use to lock up that you purchase this through the consortium. So you don't have the same leverage. They can agree to anything you want. I just came garbled up, Rich. Try it again.
Pardon? Say
you came garbled.
They are the only company that we've talked to so far that I'm aware of that's told us that right up front that they have that. But I'm hearing, you hear through the grapevine, oh, that's what all the vendors have, or that's what all the vendors do. So I'm just curious if that's something that's crept into the market over the last few years, because it's been a couple of years since we bought a fire truck.
No, it's not prevalent in the market. I find it I find it very unsavory. All you want is the truck you want at the price you want at the time you wanted it. It's a handshake, but it's for $2.5 million, and then they're telling you, well, we don't know because prices could go up. It could, well, you're in the business of building these things for 125 years. You ought to freaking know, okay? Yeah. And if you don't, you got to eat a little, shame on you. Their position is, well, we can't possibly know that. Well, I'm like, because it's going out 4 years. I said, well, why is it taking you 4 years to build a truck? Oh, it's because we can't get around to building yours for 4 years. Okay, how is that my problem again? So it's kind of a circuitous reasoning they use. That vendor, that manufacturer did it during COVID, and they thought that was I would never accept that if you went out to bid scenario, because that would never be in my bid spec. And if it came in as a condition of a bid, I'm guessing that most of the districts or purchasers would say we're not going to accept a bid with that clause in it.
They find out the only way they would bid is with that clause. So
well, then
yeah, it was the only one of the 5 we talked to that had that.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the other thing. They still haven't stopped we got to get the contract done by September 1st, otherwise the prices are going up. I mean, it's the same shtick they always use with an additional shtick that, oh yeah, we're going to try this and see if it floats. And then they tell you, well, don't worry, because the producer price index hasn't gone up by more than 5%, since like 1932 or something. Like, well, then what are you worried about? Okay, why are you concerned about it? I mean, I don't know. I find it unsavory. But they've gotten it. Some of my clients have agreed to it, particularly the ones that have bought through consortiums. If I went to bid, actually the one I did go to bid on, I absolutely told them, no, it's not acceptable. And they said, well, it's in our contract. I said, that's not your contract. The contract was that bid offer that you made under our terms. It's not in there. Those bid specs say you cannot change the terms in a subsequent or by a subsequent amendment. So we'll either pay what we agreed to pay you, or we'll sue you.
Well, I see small fire stations being built for less money than what we're talking about for this area. So I really think we got to really stay on top of the game on this kind of stuff, because
the other thing is, if all the manufacturers go along with it, or if say Rev Group jumps in on it, then you've got the antitrust issue that came to the forefront of about 8 months ago, that someone was raising a congressional investigation over. And this is not this is basically saying we have an agreement except that we don't.
Terry, is there anything the board needs to do other than authorize this RFP to be sent out pending any weekend?
Yeah, well, this RFP, I mean, as I understand it, I haven't looked at it. It's a little bit different than your typical RFP because RFPs are generally for professional services, and generally that's what you're doing to find a vendor to deal with. This is, from what I understand, is more of an informational. Tell us what you got, and I think you did that with the engines. But it's not really a true RFP because you're not going to make a decision on that. You're basically looking for information, I think, to guide you in either defining a spec or in deciding which way you want to go in case you want to piggyback through a consortium. So,
not just so you're aware, Terry, or somebody in the room is aware, is the committee is going to go back and look at the RFPs, and then based on what we get there, is probably going to be how we determine what vendor we ask to craft us a specification that we are going to then debug so that it's not strictly one vendor's specification.
mm-hmm. and that's fine, but you gotta redefine the RFP because it's not really truly an RFP. You're not going to accept a proposal and buy something.
Okay, so we're going to other information.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's probably a better term. If I get an RFP, my assumption is that at the end of the inquiry, after people have submitted proposals, that one proposal will be accepted and that service or that item will be procured. You're not doing that.
And I think that the cover letter or the opening paragraph of this or whatever has got to say something effect of what our intent is to get a specification from the information received. Because the last time we sent out a list almost 8-9 months ago that was less detailed than this.
Yep.
Than this, less detailed. And all the vendors wanted to do was, oh, we'd love to sit down with you and talk about that. We're tired of sitting down and talking to vendors about what they can do. We need them to put some pen to paper and tell us, show us what they can do.
What you will probably get is a cut sheet or cut sheets, and you won't get a detailed spec, but you'll at least have. I mean, I'm assuming that's what you'll get from various vendors with some deep, but they're not gonna tear off all the 7 veils with this thing either. They're gonna probably make a pitch, which is really, I think, all you're looking for, and have some concept of what they can do.
If it goes to vendors A, B, C, D, A, E, and F, and vendor C is the one we really like, then we sit down with vendor C and say, all right, can you draw us up a specification?
Yes. Yeah.
So Terry, couldn't we just really change this to an RFI?
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm leery of. I mean, yeah, that's what you're doing. Okay,
right.
You're not soliciting a proposal that someone's going to say, yeah, this is the deal. You're requesting information, so it's probably more properly styled as a request for information.
I think we know which way we want to go with it. That when we talk about,
we know what we're trying to do.
Yes.
We're all trying to do the same thing. We're just calling it something different.
yeah.
Terry, what formal action, if any, does the board need to take?
I think the board can tentatively or can approve subject to review by council, and then what I'll do, I'll get back to Bob, and if I have to make revisions to it, between Bob and I, we can probably decide whether it's something significant enough that needs to go, or maybe it does, maybe it should go back to the chiefs or the truck committee or whomever is whoever's long range planning, whoever doing this, and either it be sanctioned, or if they think, hey, we better wait and bring it back to the board next month. But I don't think it's going to take. I mean, what you're asking for, I think, is essentially some vague specifics. Okay, so I don't think it is going to be a whole lot of stuff that I'm going to do except take out any language that looks like if they submit it, we say we like it, that we're somehow bound to them. that's really my concern about getting my eyes on this thing, that we don't misrepresent what we're doing here. And I think you have a clear understanding what you're doing. It's just not, it doesn't fit within the four corners of a typical RFP.
So correct any language that it needs to be corrected. I'll entertain a resolution to authorize a request for information to be sent out to ladder truck manufacturers based on the information submitted by the apparatus committee pending review by council.
Sounds good.
Terry, can I ask a question on
Before I forget.
underneath the heading there, can you kind of put the language that you think we should say when we talk to vendors regarding this?
We have the front end on that. Just send me what you have in Word. Okay, that's all we need.
I
Just
just,
send that and we'll,
okay, thank you.
I'll just consider that I made the motion, so we don't.
I'll second all that.
Okay.
Second.
All right, second by Rich, all those in favor? Motion passes.
Oh, it's a motion.
Yeah, I made that a motion. Was that all right, Terry, for this, or should it have been a resolution?
The emotion's fine. The emotion's fine on this. We're not expending any money.
All right, anything else on apparatus and equipment and firemanagement operations?
No here about the
Yes.
rescue for two refurbs.
yeah. So, so on the refurb, AJ Child Rose, who's kind of heading up the refurb for Rescue 4-2, they did send over their sort of work overview, similar to what DeFreeseville did before. We are at the point where we're looking for board approval to do the same exact thing we did for DeFreeseville. The committee does have a little bit more work to do, okay, and Terry will review it just like he reviewed 9-6's rehab. We're just gonna need to get some more specifics on all of the bullet points. So Chief, we'll be talking to AJ in your committee. We need to like really kind of drill down a little bit more, because otherwise they could just be putting some, unknown prices on things, and we don't want that. We want to be as specific as we can. But I think this is definitely enough for what the board sees of the work that they want to have done. It's probably about the same as what 9-6 had. Jeff submitted something a little bit more detailed, but it was still about the same amount of items. So that's what we're asking for approval, so we can get to that next step. And I think by next board meeting, we'll be ready to go out like what we did before. You gave the committee, Terry, the approval to just get this out. The committee's already had discussions with Premier. So Premier has already kind of looked over this list and gave some suggestions. So I think they're in good shape.
All right, entertain a motion to, go ahead.
Premier, give us a estimated cost that we could stay in a range. I mean, he kind of knew where we were at, because we were in the same area where with 9-6.
He really couldn't do that rate yet, because it was more about him looking at what you're looking to have done to say, this is more of a simple repair, or this isn't. So he's just giving guidance to the committee, but really would not commit himself to any cost at this point.
Well, I was there when he came over to do the review on the truck.
Mhm.
And if my memory serves me, he kind of somehow come up in his mind that it would be similar to what 9-6 is. And it kind of got back when he said, I think we can stay in the same budget as the other one.
Well, that's good, because I'll remind him of that.
Yeah.
Right, Terry? We'll keep it
But
on.
I didn't know if we needed to do anything with that yet, because.
No, because
When we go out and sit there.
Because we're gonna send it out to, we're gonna see who's interested and send it out at least to 3 vendors. I'm pretty confident that Bulldog probably is not gonna bid it this time, but there may be somebody else that will be willing to see it.
No, you're good. You want to make a motion to?
Sure.
Motion by Ippy to authorize Purpose request will be sent out. Second by Rich. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Anything else under apparatus equipment? Buildings and grounds, Brian and Nick.
I don't have anything.
First, thanks to Bob, I went out graceful damage, in snowfalls over the years. Bob, a good source, and managed to repair some basic light poles, about half the cost, but it was like $110 per those boxes like that. There's, yes, I saw the email, but the water filtration damage from windows has decreased a little. We're not quote for CSR from that. We're currently tinting. I'm missing something there, but that's pretty much it.
All right. Anything else? Nick, did you have anything?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, finance, insurance, and the audit. We already discussed the audit. Fresh my short memory, we accepted that. Yes, we did. I don't have anything else. You, Nick?
No, I don't have anything else.
All right, long range plan.
You did not accept it. You accepted the report. I'm not going to go on it.
Entertain a resolution to accept the auditor's report.
I'll make the resolution.
All right, resolution made by Nick, seconded by Brian.
Rich.
Aye.
Dan.
Aye.
Brian. Aye. Rob.
Aye.
Nick.
Aye.
Carries, all right. Brian, range planning.
Just kind of two things. One was, we've gone back and forth over the past few years about station keepers and chief cars, and station keepers, guys are replacing Tahoes. They're 13 years old. There was an email from Chief Sheehan. I know it's always been a thing in the past, use new whatever. So we should probably consider, because I don't see us getting station keepers next year too, it will be financial reasons. We've been forward, I believe next year was one, tentatively.
I kind of would like if we could have another meeting, so long range committee, so we can.
But I believe we put that back in. I think
As we did put that back, but just so we can fine tune the financial estimates that we had forecasted.
Okay, you want to try to do one before the budget here? Or after?
September would be great.
September it is.
August a little tight, it's.
We'll have a meeting with some. I'll send an email out to some in September. If we're gonna look at human vehicle, and I'm not opposed to it, I think we need to come up with a mechanism that allows us to act quickly. Because so often you find out about them, and it's gotta be, bid to that, whatever, if it's a state of the board of records, to their next meeting, which doesn't give us time to act on it. And I think just come up with a mechanism that we can quickly pull the trigger on, if you guys see something that we really want to jump on and go with.
Could we, what we've done as well, we just quickly scheduled,
Sure we could.
meeting.
We could do a special meeting, but I think let's at least get some kind of mechanism together, so we'll start rolling the ball out now. And the other thing that was LoSAP, we talked about this past couple of meetings, but looking to change it to the contribution plan, I suppose benefit. Do you think we would be able to discuss this for long range?
Well,
I know
actually,
there's
yeah,
some
because I got some response from
Okay.
the vendors, and it's a matter of what it is for current programs, people that are in the current program, even newbies in the current program, will they be able to transfer, we're gonna scrap the old program. So there was a lot of questions, but I think that's why I'm also.
Yeah, I think
we should have
that's-
the long range planning committees get together and,
Our goal was not to affect anybody currently, I just wanted to spell that so nobody
Well,
gets panicky.
no, but right, but say somebody only has 2 years.
They would have
in
an
the current
option.
program, would they have an option,
Right.
and what would be the criteria? Right, so there's a lot of things we gotta answer from the emails, if I didn't want to respond, that's right, so we'll get together. And actually, I can, sorry, I could do like August or Tuesday, or something like Tuesday.
I'll throw some dates in, I don't think we
Yeah,
get September.
Okay.
I think on that though, to LoSAP, after your committee meets, well, it's gonna be somebody from BFIS or whatever vendor. I think it would be good to have them come to the board again, so we can kind of hear the proposal firsthand. Ask questions, because this is a pretty big move, and it's gonna have to go to the public.
Right.
We wanna make sure the board has a good solid understanding that it's. You know, we're fiscally responsible to the taxpayers, but also we're looking out for our members.
Absolutely, and that, I mean, that's why we've been kind of, I know it's not just like an overnight problem.
No, yeah, no, I think it's good that you're asking. Yeah, I think it's good, yeah.
On that point, I know, I believe it doesn't affect Teresa, but it affects wines. We're in the last year of that extra program.
The post entitlement, right?
And people
Actually, look at too.
people are like, well,
Yeah.
is this dying and what's happening? And if you ask me, I stop, we'll bring it up, but that's,
Yeah.
you know, so some way to get back to them, what
Did you say is the plan dying?
No.
The plan, no,
The plan expires.
wouldn't, it could expire for people who have participated in it,
And,
but new members can
right,
jump in.
and
Yes,
that's
correct.
And the question was,
I got it. I know what I heard you say.
well, I kind of did, and I probably misspoke, I think, but
But I think the things that need to be looked at, just to kind of make sure we're on the same page, I think this we have in mind. One, the type of plan we are offering. We currently only offer a defined benefit plan, and then after 30 years, a post entitlement plan. So we're looking at potentially changing to a defined contribution plan, whether that be for new members, only new members, whether it be a choice, anybody can move, but we want to kind of see our menu of options. One, that would be one. Two, extending the, for lack of a better term, and then three, I think we need to look at these amounts. One, what is it legal to go up to? What can we afford? If we make any changes, to those, or we not? You know, I just had a meeting with a member today, and Sean, $700 a year is really a different value than it was 10 years ago when we brought this up. $20 a month is a different value than it was when we put this program in place 30 years ago. So I think that needs to be looked at too. Are we on the same page as something we want to look at?
I guess you bring the menu back to the board.
Yeah, and then ultimately, when you guys have narrowed it down, have the actual vendor or vendors here so we can talk to the person. I think we highly publicize that.
Right, so you
meeting,
announce the members can sit in the room, so there's.
and
no-
they can sit.
no-
It's not gonna be an open meeting, but they can.
Listen to it, hear for themselves.
Yeah.
It's not- Yeah. That was the intent, it's just.
Perfect. I think it's great.
We'll bring out, we have the long range plan agenda along with apparatus, chief's card. Right, we discuss it. That's all I got on the long range plan.
Can I ring in on that, guys?
Sure.
Yeah, just understand that if you're gonna do something for 2026, it's gonna have to be on the ballot this December. All right, so, and if you're gonna do something for 2026, it's gonna impact or alter your, the fiscal outlook, that's gonna have to be budgeted. So to the extent you feel that some need to get something done soon, it's probably sooner than you think. All right, if you're going to try and implement something to roll out for the year 2026.
I 100% agree. That's why we were recommending, in fact, when we had the long range plan committee meeting at the beginning of the year to get the ball moving, and just haven't got there yet. So it's let's go through some half hot for the voters.
How many, for our post entitlement people, do we know how many are like at
I
that
believe there's
capped out?
5 or 6. Well, this is the final year of the divvy. 2026 will be last year. Well, 25 is last year.
How many years is that out?
I believe it, people maxing out 10 years. or
We're
more
maxing out
this year.
this year.
Isn't just you and RD?
No,
Huh?
him,
Okay.
Joey.
Yeah,
I think only 5 years.
no,
Oh, you're.
I'm done this year. I think there's 5 people.
Five was good.
This is just, I'm thinking out loud, which gets me in trouble. But I think we're looking at a lot of major changes. And the likelihood that we're gonna accomplish all this by September is little to none. But we've got 5 members that are gonna be capping out this year. I don't think it would be a huge lift to look at extending that cap to 15 years and possibly have that piece on the ballot,
Well,
right?
it's either that or,
And then,
I don't know legally, speaking, could we just give those 5 people, it's gonna be for 26, but they'll get paid for 25. If we have to before, rather than rush into it, could we just agree as a board to say, okay, we will self-fund those 5 people in 2026?
I don't know if that's legal.
Yeah.
Is that
No,
legal?
you can't do that. I guess what I'm thinking of it, and again, if your 10 years is up and they're at 40, I mean, it's not going to be a big lift to extend it, on the ballot in December, extend it 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. I mean, because you may not want to extend it for 10 years because you may be retooling the whole program anyway. I'm just saying that if you got people that are contributing and it's gonna end December 31st, 2025, in order to stay in the program, you're gonna have to do something, get it on the ballot, get it approved in order for it to be effective January 1, 2026. So this is it's sick because we sound like Congress, continuing resolution or something. But I think you're gonna, with at least that component, if there's an interest in doing it, you're gonna have to do that on this ballot, and maybe the other changes have to abide a more extensive review.
My suggestion would be to get that on the ballot, address that with a year or 2 extension. Brian and his committee, because you want to do it well, can work on that. Maybe we shoot it with a goal of you coming back with a report and a vendor presenting maybe at, like, I'm just gonna kind of pick March. Just a definitive timeline, so it's not just like something that can't be kicked down the road. And we actually have some timeframes.
And then we sell just to the people that we got to sell to.
Yeah.
Members.
Sean, do you think that's something with the vendor for that program? Give us an answer back to it.
We gotta go out to the public and vote. There shouldn't be a problem.
No, I mean, just so
For
we
the
have an
folks
idea
inside.
from the vendor, what it looked like, and then put it on the ballot.
Here's let me figure something out. What you might end up, if you could go to a defined contribution program, and the limits now are $1,200, not 700, and they may in fact go higher. We're trying to get it pushed to 3,000, but there's some really interesting programs out there where the individuals go into their money gets deposited, and their existing money can get rolled into that program. And they're given some discretion into what funds they want to put it in. And so if you have some financial acumen, you can decide, hey, I want to put it in X, Y, and Z, S&P 500, whatever. Otherwise, you go into a default fund. Those, to me, have the most sex appeal, are the most interesting. And you would end up, the average younger person, certainly starting out, would end up with a much bigger payout than they ever would under a defined benefit program. Older people, a little bit tough to say because generally you take a hit when you go to a defined contribution program. But if it's not, if you're investing it and you're, I don't want to say recklessly, if you're taking some liberties with it, you could get, 8 or 10% easy, annually, over a period of 10 years. So, I mean, you've more than doubled your initial investment. So those programs are out there. I think those are the things you need to look at. I think defined contribution is typically is kind of is the trend here because it's consistent, and it's there's no magic at the end of the year where you got to get actuarial equivalents and whatever. So I think it's a much cleaner program. I think it's easier for the district to administer, and if you get with the right program, you can actually give people the opportunity to decide where they want their investment to go, and the risk is on them, and they get and having that opportunity. Some will do very well, some will do okay if they're in just a balanced account, but others, anybody that's invested $1 this year is done real well. So, but those are out there. Those are out there for you.
Great, thank you. At the end, public session. Okay.
Okay.
So don't lose your thought. Anything else on long range planning? No. All right. Policies, procedures, membership, Brian, and Nick, there's the application.
It's passed out there. Let's, let me just jump the officer qualification thing real quick.
Sure.
So basically, I sent out an email, just, we've been talking about it for a few years, always seem to come up right just before election time, so be a little bit out in front of it this time. Basically tweaks, I should say right up front on the, SIM Dropbox, needed, I didn't print them out, but, one thing to add exterior firefighter that I excluded was Bishop Beefo, that in front of the spreadsheet. Basically, one of the first things was create the actual exterior firefighter category, so it's never listed like what is the minimum just to ride a fire truck and go to scenes, but not the interior. So we kind of basically separated exterior from interior. Didn't really make any changes going through all that. I did add self-rescue, which is kind of a newer thing. Escape system training, which obviously we all have to have for the interior to use the systems. Moving down for a lieutenant, just the biggest thing we changed there was the definition of mainline piece. I don't say games, there's questions that are coming up, what is a mainline piece? So you can find an engine rescue truck. So it's pretty much clear the squad and first response has done a mainline piece of apparatus. Captain, we fixed the math a little bit there to his lieutenant. We separated some of the requirements because on there it said fast. And why as good members just felt so like we're not fasting, but we got to be fast, but equally why the police members don't need to be aerial apparatus operators either. So that's department specific for their captains. This just calls me, we separated that. So in DeFriesville, if you want to be a captain, for example, you have to be fast. If you want to be a captain in Lion skill, you have to be able to operate the aerial, don't worry about fast and vice versa. So we clean that up a little bit. Qualified on all apparatus by tenure captain. Principal's building construction, I put for assistant chief. Chief Wilson did bring up a good point subsequently tonight before I sent this out. I believe, and I talked to some people who taken fire officer one, I can check the curriculum with the state. This may already be incorporated into the new fire officer one curriculum. So if that is, we'll strike that down the road. No changes to chief. Something that I know has been going on at least 10, 15 years was the question of drivers. Can they get low SAP, and that'd be an actual rank? Well, I talked to Terry last month, and under the general municipal law, driver is not a low SAP category. So what we've been proposing for years, and everybody's now on board, is they would be given engineer titles for drivers, similar to if you work on your trucks every week, you get an engineer title. There's a caveat like anything, if you're going to get credit for it, there is a district vehicle policy. Yearly, you have to do the practical training, pump, driving, and class enforcement to get your points. So you can't just say I'm a driver and not come to the refreshers. You don't come to the refreshers, you don't get the points. That's district policy anyway. You should be driving a truck. You don't do the refresher training. So that was added in there. Firefighter training course, apparatus, pump, obviously, CPR is pretty much for everybody. Fire police hasn't changed except for my typo on police. Not Nancy out of field. That hasn't changed, and then at the request Chief Wilson, define safety officer. Basically, a lot of this goes into experience. What rank they give them, usually it's lieutenant, if I'm not mistaken. Safety officer is not in the fire medic chain of command, but for the sake of getting low SAT points, they're considered lieutenants. To qualify to be a safety officer, it's a safety officer equivalent. And it would be like, or having the rank has to have more higher, like gaining experience and stuff like that. The position of safety officer, just looking to tweak that a little bit. We just want to try to get it in place before elections. There's no major drastic change in my opinion that all of a sudden somebody's going to be running around and 3 weeks saying, oh my God, I can't be an officer. It was just fixing some math and breaking up interior to exterior, actually creating more low SEP opportunities. Definition for safety officer, which I know Teresa's always had them, I don't believe wants to officially have one, chief. We'll give them the option to have that now too, so. I guess we just gotta kind of do that and fix a couple typos and. Comments, questions? Concerns?
Fire investigation from my officer. I didn't see that class posted.
You want anymore, it's a 6-hour virtual, anybody can take it through LMS. That's 6 hours online.
When we make changes, it's gonna be like grandfather clausing that's currently, tenant, you know, is.
Yeah, we're gonna change that verbiage up in the top. You were a chief before. Be a chief, lieutenants can advance to get caught. I don't think there's too much changing, at least, but yeah, no, you do like your lieutenant this year. Well, we're not gonna say you're fired. So just going forward.
Thank you. I had a brief discussion with Brian before the meeting and about the PFOI or the exterior firefighter, interior firefighter. And I cleared in my mind with my question to him was, but then something was said in one of the chief's reports, which reopened the wound, so to speak. And that was that, I believe Chief Wilson was looking at what Chief Sheehan provided him as far as the rookie book and the things they have to sign off on. I don't see anything here about rookie books. I see to be an exterior firefighter, you gotta be 18 years old, you gotta take, I-100, 200, 800, and CPR AED. I don't see anything about PFO. To be an interior firefighter, you have to have IFO, self-rescue, and escape. I don't see anything about rookie books. And so if this is going to become the district policy on what somebody has to do to be an exterior or an interior firefighter, then I think if it's deemed necessary that we have to have a rookie book, then that should be in there for each position if necessary, and it should be the same. It shouldn't be, people also said, well, we're gonna try and make the Wyandotte ones closer, a little bit closer to the tree. No, it should be a district policy. And we've come far enough down the road now. There should be a district policy there. We have a district policy on driving, but I don't know that it clearly lays out how we qualify and requalify drivers. So I know we do that differently. We should have a district policy on how we qualify drivers and requalify drivers. And I know I'm probably opening, a wound and pouring salt into it, but, how many times are we gonna kick that can down the road and say, well, let's just keep going the way we've been going? So I just throw it out there. This is all good stuff. And I like what I see in there. And I know that there's one course there that I've been trying to get, that I'm actually having a hard time getting a seat in. And we recruited a fireplace that the availability to seat and tins may become an issue. Reps with some of our fire. Because a lot of places have integrated gyms, not just into their fireplace, but they've required it for various other officers. So, that wants to be a captain or a lieutenant somewhere versus somebody who wants to be yet another fireplace in a train station. Where's the seat priority go in deciding who gets the seats? So I don't know, Tim's may be a problem.
Right, well, to that point, for Tim's, there's a spot here, more recall paragraphs, but that as long as the officer candidate, so to speak, making a good faith effort to get a class for the states and provided it, we're not going to stop them. But no, it's a tougher class to get instructors for.
That's one I know the only reason I'm not following that was I don't know.
Yeah.
But as far as my comments on the exterior firefighter, if we pass a district policy that says they gotta be 18 years old, I-100, 200, 700, CPR, AED, somebody could fill out their application and hold this piece of paper up and say, hey, I'm doing your qualifications, I'm an exterior firefighter, where's my gear and my pager? Let me
Right,
qualify.
well, people was missing from that was a typo that said right at the beginning, we got to add back.
Yeah, we gotta put people. But if we're gonna have district requirements, then they have to be laid out as district requirements and included. I'm not saying that we gotta hold this whole thing up, stop the process, and, these guys gotta go out there and spend 3 nights a week for the next 2 months writing them all. We gotta integrate this stuff in.
So Brian, you looking for approval on this tonight?
For that, but just adding the from, to the exterior firefighter.
Entertain a motion to approve the officer qualifications with the modifications Brian mentioned. Made by Rich, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye. And we can look at there's another policy instead of. The application. Actually, I'll steal that page.
All right. Application here for Daniel is a writer. To be approved. By Brian, second by Hippie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Low staff, I feel we discussed that a lot, and I know Emily during public session has comments, looking for that opportunity. Business operations and technology. This is a tiny little thing. When I was reviewing the bills today, I was looking at the credit card statement from Bank of America. I got thinking how there's a lot of credit cards that offer like cash back or something. I don't know what's open to municipalities, but Bob's been looking for that. Let us talk next meeting. Nick, do you have anything else?
No, I don't.
And Hippos is supposed to be here this month. Bob, anything else? Development plan review, Brian.
Not too much that we've already kind of discussed, last month. The only thing, just, there was something about that Minnesota trail, just kind of keep an eye on that. So about, for those who aren't familiar, it's about running a 3-mile trail from Rensselaer to Troy. I assume county property, or they're talking to the town of Greenbush, there's a 3-mile stretch that actually North Greenbush, but keep an eye on it.
My recollection is the property is owned all by either you can get RPI property continuous, or you can go RPI property, county property, RPI.
But it should be something we keep on to the advertisers, so you keep like their trail rescues, is always a challenge for us, equipment wise, and something we should really keep an eye on. So beyond that,
I
nothing.
think Dan sent out an email, which I agree, if that's something that comes to fruition, we probably will have to look at some type of a UTV or something like that. All right. Recruitment and retention, can you just talk about that grant, because somebody.
Yeah, there's a grant we became aware of a potential for a grant on, I want to say somewhere on the first week of August sometime. It circulated, came around. I thought everybody had seen it. Unfortunately, it does not appear to have. I looked at it initially for something, hey, this would be good for the 2 fire companies. And then just before I left town last week, Chief Sheehan replied that, yeah, this would be a good thing for the district to do. And I looked at, I hadn't looked at it from that perspective. I'm out of town, so I haven't revisited that. Regardless of which way we do it, the chief financial person, whether it's the fire company treasurer from each fire company or the district financial wizards, there's a pre-approval process that has to be done with the state. It's listed, and I gave Bob the citation for the what page and what paragraph number it was in the, I sent that to Bob and Jeff in the initial discussion. It doesn't look very difficult, but it requires somebody with the financial wizardry to get that. It doesn't. Something's got to be done. Regardless, this thing has got to be in by September 10 or 15, something like that. I will tell you flat out right now, I got at least 3 search procedures between now and then. So I may have time to work at it. I may not. This is not the kind of thing that you don't just toss one of these applications together and say, oh yeah, we'll get that. I don't know what to say. Do we want to pursue? I know that the pre-sol was going to discuss it at Thursday next meeting. I wasn't there. I was out of town. I don't know if they said, yes, this would be a good idea for the district to go for, or if there's interest in doing it with the fire company in. I don't know which way they went, decided to go. Apparently, Weinisco's president isn't even aware of it, so they haven't had that discussion yet, and the thing is, the deadline, guys. So we want to,
It's September 10th. So you can
go
go.
September 10th.
So by the time we would even have our next company meeting, we're looking at less than a week for us to even try to do anything. And I'm not so sure we have the financial wizardry that you guys may.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it too, Rich. The only conundrum is like past grants we've applied for, fire district is rich. Fire departments are not rich.
Yeah, and typically the state, this is a state grant, not a federal grant.
I understand.
This is a state grant, so typically they're going to fund the poor, the more needy districts. Now, when you look at, this grant is not about financial need. This grant is about recruitment and retention.
I understand.
So again, I gotta go back into the language of it, and if there's if we could language it so that we can show that, given the volume of calls we have, percentage of population that we cover, we can look at how many people we've been able to recruit, how many of those have covered, how many we've been able to retain, and paint a not so good picture with that. That may be a strategy that could write us for a grant. I don't know.
Can I give you a little insight on this?
Please.
Ryan, cover your ears. This isn't the state or someone's employer being magnanimous. The control for about the last 7 or 8 years on your state income tax has been a place where you could make donations to volunteer firefighter recruitment and retention. OFPC, the state has been hoarding this money, and it wasn't until a critical controller's audit came out last year, I believe, about what the hell are you doing with all this money and why haven't you put it into the mainstream? So I'm a little disgusted by the fact that they would throw this out here now and give you a month to do it when they've been hoarding money for at least 5 years, probably longer. If you want to read the controller's audit on it, it's very fascinating. But I think that everybody, I'm telling everybody to apply for it, okay, for recruitment and retention. And I don't know how they're going to adjudicate or judge these things. I know they're sitting on a pot of money they need to get rid of. And they got excoriated by the controller's office for basically doing nothing for years when they took money from taxpayers who thought they were little old ladies who thought they were doing a nice thing for the local fire departments. So I think
go back forward and maybe I can sit down with between Bob and Sean and Mike and the chiefs, and we can put our heads together and come up with some language that'll,
I'd submit 3 applications for 3 different types of things. Candidly, I do a district in each of the departments and the district. Maybe they would coordinate or synchronize, but I would come at it from 3 different directions.
All right, I'll go back.
And that's my opinion. I have no insight. I just know that they've got to get rid of some money in a hurry.
Interesting inside baseball on that.
All right. Do we need to take any action to authorize an application to be submitted? Because it will happen before the next.
If we can pull something together, I'll communicate it.
I mean, something now.
I think the board should sanction the district and the departments to, discuss this and coordinate and, submit 1, 2, or 3 applications. However, whatever it comes to be. But, again, this 1 month deadline.
Based on council's recommendation.
I abstain. I'll second it. No, I really have. No, I will. So you made the motion, I seconded it. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And 1 abstention. All right. Here you go.
Gee, thanks,
And
man.
we got 1 president here, you have a caller. We have the recruitment chairperson here.
I'm on duty crew tonight. I'll sit up all night working.
All right, before we get to public session. And I just want to give a shout out to Sean, Bob, we talked about the audit, we accepted the audit, went quick, like it's routine business, but Sean is the treasurer, Bob is the deputy treasurer, do a really nice job, overseeing our finances. And I don't want to think because to us, it's a routine matter, but I mean, that's a pretty big deal to keep getting all these audits and you both doing this job. So much. Thank you. Public session.
Oh my gosh, if it's so hard to stay here without saying anything.
Next month.
Yeah. I do want to say this grant, that looks like a really good.
Just for the minutes, Emily, peer out.
Period.
God, sorry about that. Period.
Oh my God.
I want to say that DSC with Criminal Retention Committee would be happy to help with some of the grant pieces that things we've done in the past that would apply to cost we could probably cover, maybe in the. But just a really quick comment on the low staff. I think it was Terry's comment that spoke a little bit to the members acumen around investments. And I think that's something we really do need to focus on and consider. So just a thought when you guys are talking to vendors to see what they might offer for guidance and education. I know there's a lot of resources out there. I work with Charles Schwab. We did a lot of free guidance for investors. So maybe something that we're going to.
Great. Any other thing for public session?
Just, I guess, as coming to you as the company vice president, I was kind of looking this up, as you guys approved the auction qualification, correct? As I'm looking at it.
With the addition of BFO.
Yeah,
BFO.
right, okay.
And the verbiage on drivers.
So I guess I'm gonna ask for a little bit of guidance possibly. Our company has bylaws that puts out eligibility for line officers as well. One of the biggest things that stands out to me is like looking here, to be a captain, you have to serve 2 years as a lieutenant. Our bylaws currently says 1 full fire medic year, and then same thing for, to move to assistant chief. Our bylaws say you have to have 1 year as captain, this is saying 2. And then from captain to, you could really go to any chief position 1 year as a captain. So I guess I'm just, this is a question that's our members are gonna ask, and I just wanna know, do we legally follow this, or do we follow our bylaw, like how is this work? Because we would obviously have to affect the bylaw change to write something that even could be to follow district requirements for line officer, which is fine, we can get that done, but we're not gonna get that done this year.
Terry, can you jump in on this since we have a legal question out there?
Yeah, I will. To the extent that there's an inconsistency between the bylaws and district policy would prevail. So, although it's not necessary for them to amend their bylaws, they would be superseded. And that's under both the town law for the district and not-for-profit corporation law for the corporation or the company. So,
If the company bylaw was more restrictive than the district, wouldn't both apply for the company?
well, the company should focus on years of membership as opposed to qualification. I mean, if the company said you can't hold any office unless you've been a member for 5 years, and the district, the district probably shouldn't impede upon that. But the district could say, wait a minute, if you've been a firefighter, interior firefighter, you've got all the training, and you've been in 3 years, you are qualified for lieutenant. It would still, the district would still trump in that regard, but it's better if you work so that there's not these inconsistencies or pinch points, knowing that when it comes to qualifications, apart from just time in the company, time in the club, if you will, that's really a district prerogative as opposed to a fire company prerogative.
Yeah, I think that pretty much answers it. I just want to have something to be able to answer that to our members, because I know that's going to come up, because I know back with years ago, when I was president the first time, we actually amended our driver bylaw after something that was changed in the district. Our driver bylaw pretty much says that we'll follow the North Orange Fire District standard operating procedures as a driver. So if I can take this article and potentially even change that, policy change from that, work qualifications as a district officer, I think, these were written years ago and you guys probably didn't have some sort of requirements So I just wanted to know, and thank you for your,
Anything else for a public session? We're gonna need for an executive session. Motion to adjourn by Rich, a second. Aye. Lippy, all in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Carried.
Very good. Good night, all.
Good night, thank you.
Thanks.
No, yeah, no, it was not. Yeah. Yeah.
It's